Good morning. You're on the air.
Hi, Doug. This is Bruce Kassman with Colliers International.
Very good, Bruce. Thank you for calling in. And tell us a little bit about where you're from, what you do. You're the Senior Vice President at Colliers Budwood Fay in Miami, Florida. But tell us what you do in your position.
Okay. I'm with, as you mentioned, with Colliers International, and now the office is called Colliers International South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the Executive Vice President and Receiver, so my primary role here is to provide a value-added service for our clients, both property owners as well as lenders, in the event of receivership needs, meaning that if there's a foreclosure, the court frequently appoints a receiver to take control of a property. We're kind of like the Red Cross. We come in between. We don't take sides with a lender or a borrower. We take control of the asset. We maintain it. We collect the rents. We do the best that we can do for all the parties involved while they work out the issues. Frequently, we're involved in actually working out those issues. Sometimes we get involved with selling of the assets or negotiating with the borrowers to try and work out a short sale or a reduced loan situation, and make everything work for everybody. So we actually work for the courts and not either of the parties in our receivership role.
Okay. Well, I like your saying there. You're kind of like the Red Cross. That's a good one.
Thank you. The Colliers International, Colliers South Florida as a whole, is a commercial brokerage firm providing investment sales, leasing, property management, advisory and consulting services. Colliers International also has a division that provides independent division that's an appraisal company. So we run the gamut in the commercial real estate field.
Well, tell me about the width and scope of Colliers, because it's international as you just said, but how many agents, how many countries? I mean, it's amazing to go onto your website and find out all of the different offices and what you do.
Thank you. Colliers International is a global team of over 12,500 professionals.
Wow.
Operating out of 512 offices in 61 countries. In 2010, they had $59.6 billion in transaction value, which resulted in an annual revenue for the firm of $1.5 billion.
Wow.
In addition, we've got over 978 million square feet under property management.
So just enormous numbers. So again, it must be great to be part of that team and be part of being able to get help from every part of the country, not only selling but bringing buyers in, and you've got obviously investors everybody works with, and seeing all the property that you list and work with is a great help to your clients.
Well, thank you. Yes, it is, and that's really the strength of the organization, is this international abilities that we work. Even though we're in separate markets, the company is fully integrated with multiple different websites and communications vehicles, so that if we in South Florida are looking for certain types of properties for our clients or certain types of financing or relationships, we can reach out literally with one communication to the entire global marketplace of Colliers representatives and professionals, and say, hey, we're looking for certain types of hotel properties across the globe or in certain markets, and we get feedback almost immediately from the other professionals, and in turn they do the same towards us. So it's really a cohesive network of an organization. It's really fantastic, the depth and breadth of what they're doing and putting in place in terms of using the most latest and greatest technology to help facilitate sales and marketing and provide the best possible service for our clients.
Well, you guys are kicking it down there. I've worked with you before in your group, and And Michael Fay heads up your company and is considered a leader throughout the country and probably the world in the Miami market. And so, kudos to you. How did you get into real estate, Bruce?
Well, my background actually is as an attorney. I've practiced in New York, California, and Florida. I had a personal interest in real estate throughout my life, and so as my professional career, I started doing transactional real estate and business. Moved back to Florida after going to law school in Manhattan, went to New York Law School, and then after practicing a couple other states, moved back here and started practicing law and developed a real estate business practice. From there, I got involved with a very prominent developer in South Florida, Florida East Coast Realty. Built over 600 residential and commercial units in the downtown Miami and Coral Gables area, valued at almost just under $500 million in sales. We sold off a lot of those during the height of the market, ended up taking quite a number of them back and ended up leasing them, both commercial and residential. Built Class A office product in Coral Gables, and then from there established a relationship with Colliers because Donna Booz, who's the Chief Executive Officer here, was working for me as our leasing agent in Coral Gables in a Class A property called 2020 Ponds, and through that relationship, my position here at Colliers evolved. So it was a very good situation.
Well, I guess so. I did not know that you were an attorney and had worked in New York and California and all those places. So you're teaching me stuff. Let's go back to where you and I kind of first met and worked a deal together, which I'm very proud of. Why don't you kind of go through that auction, and I can fill in where maybe I've got some facts and figures for you.
Absolutely. We're talking about the University Shops project, the
yes.
122,000 square foot neighborhood shopping center in Miami. We first got involved with the project when our office was appointed as receiver by the Circuit Court down here in South Florida. Shortly after that, the debtor filed a Chapter 11 bankruptcy and became a debtor in possession, so we were responsible for overseeing that. And then a little bit after that, the borrower debtor filed a Chapter 7 was converted to a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So we took over.
What's a Chapter 7 for our listeners? And again, our listeners are investors, general public, real estate people. Tell us what a Chapter 7 is.
The difference is a Chapter 11 means that the borrower or debtor in a bankruptcy situation is trying to reorganize. They're saying to the court, hey, I need another chance. I made some mistakes, and give me the benefit of this bankruptcy statute that lets me get rid of some of my debts and reorganize and survive. But they've got to have a viable plan to do that. They can't just say, I want to do it. They've got to show that it's feasible to be done.
Yep.
In this case, they were not able to do that, and so the case went from a Chapter 11, they call it converted, to a Chapter 7, which means basically the court has said, no, you can't, you're not going to survive, so we're going to appoint a trustee, somebody to oversee everything, and in our case that we maintain that role because we had already been involved with it. And that entity or person comes in and starts to liquidate the assets.
Okay.
So whatever they can to generate money, first going to the secured creditors, the ones that have mortgages and liens, and then to the unsecured creditor if there's anything left. So that's where that went. And then that's how we got in. This originally was a $35 million purchase with a $25 million loan through a commercial mortgage-backed security lender. The lender stood to lose about $12 to $14 million based on the appraised value of the property. Through the bankruptcy court, we decided the best way to bring in cash here was to do an auction, and we reached out to you. Maybe I'll let you kind of jump in there and tell them a little bit about the auction process. And
Sure.
As well.
Well, we had worked with your firm before. We'd worked with John Crotty and Michael Fay and David Medalonis, and you and Steve Nostrin kind of reached out to us, and I'm the auction project manager for that firm at the time, and we were thrilled to be invited to the party, and we have had a history of doing large auctions specifically for bankruptcies in the South Florida area, and also throughout the country. And we just had a wonderful auction. It was a situation in the United States Bankruptcy Court where they had a stalking horse offer. And well, you're the attorney. Why don't you say what a stalking horse offer is?
That's somebody that comes in and says, "I will pay." It's usually a low bid, it's not a great bid, but says, "I will take the property for X dollars."
Okay.
Parties agree to go forward to the court and say, "Okay, this is kind of a minimum bid that we will accept." They're qualified. They've got to show that they can actually close the deal, have the cash available. So the court agrees, okay, that's kind of our starting point in the bidding process. And then we, through our means and your means, we widely market the auction, the date, the time, set parameters in terms of the qualifications for the investors, so that it's, at the end of the day, there's someone who wins the auction, they're already pre-qualified to close the transaction. And then we move forward with a live auction in the bankruptcy court.
So the stalking horse offer is kind of like an insurance policy that it's kind of the start of the auction. If there's no bids, then we're going to have a sale, and it's with the stalking horse offer, and it goes from there. And what also happens is that if there's other bidding, and the stalking horse offer is outbid, usually there's a fee paid to the stalking horse offerer for that, or he can jump in and bid, but then he doesn't get that fee. Is that about right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. And so we had an auction. It was held in the bankruptcy court, in the United States Bankruptcy Court, in the federal courthouse in Miami, and we had 8 bidders that registered. I think it was $250,000 that they had to have a cashier's check or wire into the attorney. The attorney was Joel Tavis, a prominent attorney in the Miami market for bankruptcies, and we just had a great auction. The terms of the sale are a little bit different than a normal auction because it kind of based on, this is what the increments of the bidding were, and the increments of the bidding were $25,000. It could be raised, but a minimum of $25,000. I think everybody just kind of figured, okay, it's $25,000, and so it was probably one of the longest auctions for one property, because we had 161 bids at that $25,000 increment, and it sold for $21 million.
Right. Which is fantastic.
Yes.
As we said, the original loan amount was $25 million, and we had anticipated a $12 to $14 million loss.
Yep.
And sold for only 4 less than the original loan amount. So everybody was quite pleased with their performance, and the process worked really well.
Well, I know you only do auctions, 2-3% of your time, but it was a thrill to work with you on that. And auctions work because everybody has the same terms and working from the same game plan, and competition sometimes and egos. I must admit that bidders have egos, and they don't like to be outbid, and they like to win, and that all works in the favor of the estate or the sellers. But enough of that. Tell us about the market, please, in your area.
Sure. Well, just from our experience, Colliers International South Florida, just to give you a feel, over the past, over 2011, we've seen about $420 million in sales and leasing volume. On the sales side, 83% of that are distressed asset sales. Of the 83%, 85% are all cash deals, and 30% of those are foreign investors from Latin America, Spain, Canada, Germany, and Australia mostly. So cash is king in this market.
Cash is king.
We are seeing lending loosen up. We've got quite a number of lenders that have come back to the market. It's not nearly as, we had a kind of a dry spell there in 2008 or 2009, but a lot of banks and commercial lenders are back in the market, very carefully scrutinizing deals. But right now we're still seeing, especially in the distressed area, mostly cash. Now I've got to differentiate the markets a little bit, because I'm talking about mostly distressed assets, but there are kind of two classes of assets. We've got our trophy assets and our trauma. Trauma being distressed, trophy being the Class A properties. Those trophy deals are trading at very aggressive cap rates.
Okay.
Multifamily, whether it's trophy or trauma, is very strong right now. Industrial is still very strong.
When you say strong cap rate, again, educate the general public here. What does that mean?
Well, on the in terms of the trophy assets, I say aggressive cap rates, meaning the capitalization rates are low.
Low.
That the return on the investor's money,
right,
is low relative to what they may otherwise ideally want.
It's a safer asset for them, so they're going to get less return, but they feel safer.
Right, exactly, and that's these trophy, these Class A properties, or a lot of the multifamily. Even if they're not Class A, it's a highly multifamily. Apartment buildings, all condominium sales are very hot right now.
Why is that?
I think because everybody needs a place to live.
Yeah.
The American dream, as people put it, may not be what it was some years back when everybody thought they could buy a house. So a lot of people are going back to renting, and so the rental opportunities, the rental market is stronger, and people are looking to invest in that market. A lot of them are buying the distressed ones, not so much based on what the return is going to be today, but recognizing that they've got to invest some money right now, and over the long term it's going to be a strong investment, because if they're in the right neighborhoods and the right markets, they're going to rent up relatively quickly and stabilize quickly, meaning that they'll have enough rent, enough cash flow to cover their expenses, and then start to increase their rent a little bit as things get even better and as they fix up more units.
Okay.
On the leasing side, the South Florida market, you really have to look at that on a sub-market by sub-market basis. For instance, the Coral Gables sub-market we think is relatively stabilized. We're still seeing some pre-rent, but a lot less than we saw last year. It's a strong market as compared to its neighboring markets of Miami and Brickell. Brickell's kind of the financial district of South Florida.
Right.
We've seen a lot of lateral movement in those markets out of what were Class A buildings into new, and may still be Class A buildings, but now they're moving, large law firms moving into brand new Class A buildings that last year and the beginning of this year really were giving some nice incentives for those moves. So there's not a lot of new movement into the market. All those moves into the new buildings, two in particular that came online a couple of years ago, have left a lot of vacant space in that market. In addition, in the Class A area, we've got a building called 600 Brickell that was under construction, basically shuttered the construction until last year, revamped up the construction, and now they're coming online leasing. They've got 500,000 square feet that they're starting to lease. So that market is still very, very competitive.
I think I could probably talk to you for the full hour, because obviously you know the market. You are very well educated in this area, but we're going to need to go over the 30-minute break. Tell us how people can get a hold of you in 30 seconds or less, if you would.
Okay. Again, my name is Bruce Kassman. I'm with Colliers International, South Florida. Our main phone number is 305-446-0011. It's 305-446-0011. Our website is www.colliers, COLLIERS.com/Miami. The office is at Coral Gables at 95 Merrick Way, Suite 380, Coral Gables, Florida 33134.
Bruce, that is beautiful. Thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate you. Are a great interviewee, and we'll have you on another time.
Thank you very much, Doug. It's been a pleasure, and as always, it's a pleasure to work with you. And
take care.